Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. Selfishness and self-care. I'm going to grab this really quick because I want to start off by reading you the actual Google definition of selfishness, because I can see why it's kind of become this dirty word when it comes to lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. But if you think about selfishness on a general level, really, sometimes it's okay to be selfish. I mean, if we're going strictly with this definition, no. When it comes to chiefly for pleasure or profit, yeah, I see why there's this whole campaign about how self-care isn't selfish. But when it comes to self-care, which is really a prerequisite foundation for any sort of personal development or spiritual practice, self-care is a little selfish. It needs to be, especially in the beginning. Once you get into the habit of what self-care looks like for you, no, self-care usually isn't selfish in the broader definition of the word either, broader use of the word either. But in the beginning, sometimes you gotta do what makes you feel selfish. And here's why. Here's my mantra. Not at my expense. Say it with me. Not at my expense. Once again, not at my expense. Here's what this means. I've talked about it a little bit before. And you really want to play with these feelings if you're not used to upholding your own boundaries. If you don't have extra to give, it is at your expense, period. Doesn't matter if it's time, if it's money, if it's energy, if it's an emotion. It is at your expense if you don't have extra to give. I talk about the fact that if your cup is not full and overflowing, you shouldn't be giving to others, because it then becomes at your expense, because you're scooping that little bit of water out of your own cup and giving it to someone else. And if you aren't overflowing, you don't have extra to give. So you have to play around with what feelings come up for you when it comes to self-care and selfishness and being around others. At what point do you feel full and overflowing versus at what point do you not? So that you can start to recognize the signs of those feelings and how you feel at those times, to recognize what is and isn't at your expense. There's really no other way to do it. So like, for instance, I'll give you an example, the best that I can, which is, there are some people out there who someone will be like, hey, can you do this for me? And their immediate response will be, yeah, totally. I still do this sometimes, and I shouldn't. It's rare at this point, but even I do this sometimes and I shouldn't. And it's because you're a nice person. You want to be seen as a nice person because you are a nice person. But if I have one piece of advice that I would give anyone, because it was the one piece of advice that I knew from someone else that they would give that has proved to be true, stop and think. There is never a moment where you don't have time to stop and think. And that's where I get caught up. Is not so much in the, yeah, I want to say yes because I want to be a good person, because I want to be seen as a good person, because I am a good person. I don't get caught up there. I get caught up sometimes in just not giving myself that moment to actually think about whether or not I can. So sometimes, rarely, but sometimes still, I even say yes. And then I'm like, oh crap, I can't actually do that. And then have to rearrange something or break it to somebody that I can't do it. So in that moment where someone says, for instance, I'll give you another for instance before finishing that thought. A lot of people I know find themselves in a position where they tell somebody, yes, they're willing to do something, and then realize after saying yes, not that they can't, but that they don't want to. And that's important to realize too. Because if you know right after you've said yes, that when you get to that moment, you're going to not actually want to go do that, that's at your own expense. And we have to be aware of that. That's why giving yourself that moment to think is so important. Because if instead of just saying yes right away, you stop and think about it to yourself, is this one of those times where I'm going to say yes and then I'm going to realize I don't want to do that? And then learn to say no. I had a post, I think last week for Truth Bomb Tuesday, asking people, have you learned to say no yet? It drove me nuts when my mom learned to say no, let me tell you, but I am so grateful that she did, and I'm so grateful that she taught me how to form my mouth around the word no. That's what my mom used to say all the time. My mom's gonna see this, and I can't wait for her to see it, because what she used to look at me and say was, I am learning to form my mouth around the word no. And I advise everybody try it. Because sometimes, in the general sense of the word, in order to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, we have to be selfish. And even if we're not doing it for the sense of profit or pleasure, we are chiefly concerned with one's own personal. That's the part that is selfish and is okay. Is not just okay, is important. That is the part that is either at or not at your own expense. So, just take the time to ask yourself, before you're quick to respond, or before you quickly respond, slow yourself down and ask yourself, can I do this? Do I want to do this? Because I realize people think of self-care still as spa days and home spa days and baths and food and all sorts of stuff like that. And sure, once you've really gotten into the daily self-care ritual that is knowing yourself enough to know what your boundaries are to uphold them at all times, sure. Then self-care starts to more pointedly look like that. But in the beginning, self-care, the foundation of self-care, is learning about yourself enough to know what your boundaries need to be, to then learn to uphold them. That is self-care. That is the foundation of self-care that everyone must have, because otherwise all the other superficial things don't matter. Literally. You can take all the baths in the world, you can have all the spa days in the world, you can have all the cheat days on your diet in the world, and it won't matter if you're not upholding your boundaries. Period. End of story. So, a couple of things just to wrap this up. Number one, remember, ask yourself to first slow down and think. Is this something I can do? Is this something I want to do? Is this, in that sense, in my expense or not? So you've slowed down, you've asked yourself these questions, and then if the answer is yes, and you can do it, awesome. If not, we are learning to form our mouths around the word no. Because that is self-care. And sure, it may be selfish, but that's not just okay. That's perfect. That is the perfect amount of selfishness. So yeah, those are the 3 things. Slow down. Is it my own expense? Answer correctly based on your boundaries. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. We have links in the description that I definitely would recommend you check out. We are still doing the fundraiser. We are making it happen. For those of you who had not already heard about the fundraiser, I am making a dream come true for someone who absolutely deserves it. I found myself in a position where I borrowed somebody's car and the universe decided I was supposed to get rear-ended. And that was unfortunate. But as I always do, I ask myself, what would be the most possible, best possible outcome? And that would be based on who this person is who let me borrow their car, the fact that they actually need it for their work. They cannot get around to and from work without a car, which is why I've been letting him borrow my car. Because mostly I work at home. The best outcome would be him getting a brand new car. So he's waiting for me to take him car shopping with the money that he got. And he doesn't know that the reason why I'm stalling is because I have a goal that I know I'm going to reach, because I always reach my goals. So we're making it happen. We are getting there, but we're not quite there yet. So there will be links to donate. There will be links to the videos to share, because if we can get as many eyes on the new video as the original video, or just keep getting eyes on the original video, we can make this happen. There's also Patreon, my Patreon link. That's another way that I am donating, that you can donate to the cause. Any new and renewed Patreon subscriptions are going to the cause. Then there's my mailing list, which I do 1 email a month. That is it, period. And that's about to come out for August. So remember to sign up for my mailing list if you haven't already, because I'm about to do my August announcements and I've got some fun, cool stuff going on, as per usual. And then last but not least, my life is one-on-one, what I call holistic with a W, counseling. That's what I do with most of my time throughout the day. So I'm still doing that. I've been so caught up with this fundraiser and some other personal drama, which I'm going to do a whole video about that, but I'm giving it a little bit of time to make sure that I give you guys my message and not my mess, is I guess a way I would put it. So that's going to be a fun video, but in the meantime, I am still taking on new clients for my one-on-one counseling sessions. So if you're ready to heal, if you're ready to grow and expand, that's what I'm here for. That is what I am here for, is for those who are ready. I am here to help you heal, grow, and expand. The reason why I call it holistic with a W is because we work with the whole human health system, because when the whole human system is healthy, happiness comes naturally. And I say with because healers don't heal, they facilitate self-healing. And that is my number one thing I am really big on, is the fact that this isn't about getting caught up in a hamster wheel of things to always be doing. This is about me teaching you the skills, tools, and habits that I was given, so that once you've learned these things, once you've healed a little bit with me and you've learned how to do these things on your own, you can go off and do them on your own. You won't need me anymore, because healers don't heal anyway. They facilitate self-healing. So I want to give you the skills, tools, and habits that I was given to help heal yourself so that you don't need anybody else to help heal unless you want help. So if you're ready for the healing, which will absolutely help you grow and expand, hit me up. That link will be in there as well. And that's it. So go check out all the links in the description. Remember to subscribe because I want that custom URL, and we are getting close. So may the energy you serve you well. Let's keep making our way through.